Hello and welcome to Arnie's Short Stories. I hope you enjoy this story. I'm going to try and upload a new story each day. The Haunted Quarry of Niton. The wind howled through the jagged cliffs of Niton's abandoned quarry, a mournful wail that carried through the Isle of Wight's coastal darkness. Holly Arnold tightened her coat around her, boots crunching against loose stones as she approached the rusted gate. It stood ajar, swaying with an eerie creak as though beckoning her inside. Legends clung to this place like ivy to a forgotten grave. Miners once toiled here, chiseling at the limestone, their voices echoing against the cavernous walls. But the quarry had long since ceased its labour, leaving behind only the whispers of the dead. The locals spoke in hushed tones of shadowy figures that lurked at the edges of the pit, spectral laments drifting through the night. Some claimed to have seen lanterns floating in the darkness, held aloft by hands that no longer belonged to the living. Holly had come to unravel the truth. She stepped forward, flashlight in hand, its feeble beam cutting through the dense fog. The limestone walls loomed high, streaked with age and sorrow. The deeper she ventured, the more the air thickened, a cloying dampness pressing against her skin. The ground trembled beneath her, just slightly, so subtle she almost mistook it for her imagination. Then came the voices. At first they were faint, a whispering murmur, indistinct. But with every step, they grew clearer, layered upon one another in a cacophony of desperate pleas and guttural wails. Holly's breath hitched. Her pulse hammered. She swung the flashlight wildly, illuminating nothing but stone and shadow. And yet the voices persisted. A sudden crash echoed behind her. She spun around. A boulder had shifted, dust pluming into the air. The earth settled once more, silent but watchful. Something wanted her here. Or worse, something didn't want her to leave. Holly inhaled sharply and pressed on. The descent was treacherous, the path uneven. The deeper she went, the heavier the air became, charged with a static that made the fine hairs on her arms stand on end. Then she saw a tunnel carved into the rock, its entrance yawning like the maw of some long-forgotten beast. She hesitated. Every rational thought screamed for her to turn back. But Holly wasn't the type to turn away from the unknown. She ducked inside. The darkness was absolute, save for the flickering cone of her flashlight. The walls were damp, slick beneath her fingertips as she traced them for guidance. The tunnel narrowed, forcing her to stoop. Her breath came shallow, labored. And then she saw them. Handprints. Dozens of them, pressed into the limestone as though burned into the rock itself. Some were small children, perhaps. Others were larger, fingers split in frozen terror. Holly swallowed hard. The quarry's history spoke of a collapse, miners buried alive when the walls caved in. But the stories said nothing of children. A scraping sound shivered through the tunnel. Holly jerked her flashlight upward. A figure stood at the far end of the passage, barely visible through the gloom. A man, no man. Translucent, shifting, their hollow eyes fixed upon her. Their mouths opened, but the voices came from all around, a symphony of despair. The words slithered through her mind, bypassing her ears entirely. Holly stumbled back. The figures advanced, their forms flickering like candle flames in a draught. The air grew thick with dust, a scent of damp earth and decay clogging her lungs. And then the ground beneath her gave way. She plummeted, screaming, into the abyss. When she awoke, she was surrounded by darkness, the weight of the earth pressing down upon her. Panic surged. She fumbled for her flashlight, hands trembling. The beam sputtered to life, revealing the chamber she had fallen into. Bones. Hundreds of them, tangled in a grotesque embrace. The dead had been waiting. A cold breath ghosted against her ear, a whisper slithering into her skull. You must bring them to light. Holly clutched her flashlight tighter. This was why she had come. Not just to witness, but to uncover, to give voice to those who had been silenced. Steeling herself, she scanned the chamber, seeking an exit. The spirits pressed closer, watching, waiting. Then something moved in the shadows beyond the bones. A skeletal hand, twitching, rising from the depths of the pit. Holly gasped as the pile of remains began to shift, the dead stirring, their bones clattering together as if awakening from a centuries-old slumber. A shriek tore through the chamber, inhuman and raw, reverberating off the walls. Holly scrambled backward, her heart hammering against her ribs. The spirits were no longer just watching, they were reaching, clawing, their hollow sockets locked onto her with a hunger that had long been denied. A sudden gust of wind rushed through the tunnel, extinguishing her flashlight. Total darkness enveloped her. Holly's breath came in ragged gasps. She could feel them closing in, their icy fingers grazing her skin. Then, from the void, a single voice emerged, stronger than the rest. "Set us free." She had no choice. Digging her fingers into the dirt, she clawed at the rock, feeling the brittle remains beneath her touch. The spirits guided her hands, directing her to something buried deep beneath the rubble. A rusted lantern, its glass cracked but intact. A spark. A flicker of hope. With trembling hands, she struck her flashlight against the lantern's frame, sending a tiny ember flickering inside. The flame caught, swelling, casting long shadows against the cavern walls. The spirits recoiled, their howls filling the chamber. And then, as if released from a terrible curse, they began to fade, their bodies dissolving into wisps of silver mist. The quarry groaned, the very earth exhaling as centuries of sorrow lifted. The bones settled, the air grew still. Holly, exhausted but resolute, staggered to her feet. The exit lay before her, the tunnel no longer a gaping wall of darkness, but a passageway back to the world of the living. She turned back once, staring into the depths of the quarry. The ghosts were gone, their whispers nothing but an echo in the silence. But as Holly stepped into the night, she couldn't shake the feeling that someone was still watching, and that the quarry would never truly be at rest. Thank you for listening. I hope you enjoyed this story. Please don't forget to like, and even better, like and subscribe. Thank you very much, and I hope you have had or have a great day.